You walk into rooms and they see weakness. They see someone they can manipulate, someone they can overlook, someone who poses no threat to their ambitions. Their eyes pass over you like your furniture present but irrelevant, visible but forgettable. They measure your voice, your posture, your hesitation, and they file you away under harmless. This is your greatest weapon, and you don't even know it yet. The world has taught you that strength must be displayed, that power must be announced, that dominance requires visibility. They showed you the peacock spreading its feathers, the lion roaring in the savannah, the alpha beating his chest. They told you this is how power works. They lied to you. True power moves in shadows. It wears the face of harmlessness and strikes when the enemy believes themselves safe. It speaks softly, while sharpening the blade. It smiles while calculating destruction. It appears vulnerable while being absolutely lethal. You have been conditioned to roar when you should whisper, to threaten when you should smile, to reveal when you should conceal. You have been trained to be obvious when you should be invisible, to be loud when you should be silent, to show your hand when you should keep it hidden behind your back. But today, something changes. Today, you learn that the most dangerous predators don't announce themselves. The viper doesn't rattle before it strikes, that's the rattlesnake's mistake. The shark doesn't breach the surface to warn its prey. The most lethal hunters move without sound, attack without warning, kill without ceremony. Your apparent weakness is not a flaw. To overcome it is a mask to perfect. Your tendency to be underestimated is not a curse. To break it is a gift to weaponize. Your quiet nature is not a limitation to transcend. It is a strategy to master. They see weakness because weakness is what you choose to show them. They see harmlessness because harmlessness is the costume you wear. They see prey because prey is the role you perform. But underneath the mask, behind the performance, beneath the costume, something else entirely is watching, learning, waiting. The transformation begins now. Not from weak to strong, that's amateur thinking. From invisible to inevitable. From overlooked to unstoppable. From harmless to deadly, while never letting the mask slip until the moment you choose to let it fall. You sit in their meetings and they speak as if you're not there. You stand in their circles and they discuss strategy over your head. You walk into their conversations and they continue plotting as if you lack the intelligence to understand what's happening around you. Perfect. You let them believe you're fragile because fragile men are ignored, and ignored men see everything. While they perform their dominance for each other, the loud voices, the aggressive postures, the territorial displays, you study their weaknesses, their fears, their blind spots. Your apparent vulnerability becomes their overconfidence, and overconfident people make fatal mistakes. They speak freely around you because they don't fear your judgment. They reveal their strategies because they don't consider you competition. They expose their insecurities because they don't think you're intelligent enough to exploit them. They show you their soft spots because they've convinced themselves you're too weak to strike. This is not cowardice. This is intelligence warfare. The theater of weakness requires perfect performance. You must appear uncertain when you're calculating. You must seem overwhelmed when you're analyzing. You must look lost when you're mapping their every move. The moment they suspect your weakness is performance, the advantage dies. Watch how they treat those they consider threats with caution, with respect, with strategic thinking. Watch how they treat you with dismissal, with carelessness, with complete vulnerability. Which position would you rather occupy? The watched or the watcher? The feared or the invisible? The obvious target or the hidden predator? They mistake your silence for stupidity. They confuse your patience for passivity. They interpret your stillness as paralysis. Each misinterpretation hands you more power. Each underestimation gives you deeper access. Each dismissal provides better positioning. You become the fly on the wall, the shadow in the corner. The presence they forget is listening. You collect their secrets like weapons. You catalogue their fears like ammunition. You document their patterns like a hunter studying prey. But remember, the performance must be flawless. One moment of revealed intelligence, one flash of strategic thinking, one glimpse of the mind behind the mask, and the entire advantage collapses. They will remember that moment. They will replay every interaction. They will realize they've been feeding information to an enemy disguised as an ally. Your weakness must be so convincing that even you begin to believe it sometimes. The mask must fit so perfectly that removing it feels unnatural. The performance must be so complete that the audience never suspects they're watching theater. Let them think you're prey. Let them believe you're helpless. Let them assume you're irrelevant, while they're performing their strength for each other. You're studying the performance. While they're competing for dominance, you're learning their strategies. While they're fighting for position, you're discovering their weaknesses. The prey that studies the hunter long enough eventually becomes the hunter. Your kindness is not. Kindness, it is reconnaissance. Every favor you do, every gentle word you speak, every moment of apparent selflessness is an investment in their trust, a deposit in the bank of their overconfidence. You help them not from compassion but from calculation. They begin to depend on you because helpful people become indispensable. They begin to confide in you because kind people seem safe. They begin to lower their guard around you because gentle people appear harmless. Each act of service deepens their dependence. Each moment of kindness increases their vulnerability. You become the person they call when they need assistance. You become the shoulder they cry on when they're overwhelmed. You become the ear they whisper to when they need to share secrets. You position yourself at the center of their world, while remaining invisible at its edges. This is the gentle predator's method. Infiltration through service, domination through dependence, control through kindness. But your gentleness has edges they cannot see. Your helpfulness has purposes they cannot fathom. Your smile conceals calculations they cannot imagine. While you appear to give everything, you reveal nothing. While you seem to offer transparency, you maintain complete opacity. They pour their problems into your hands, and you absorb every detail. They share their fears with your sympathetic ear, and you catalogue every weakness. They reveal their strategies to your trustworthy presence, and you memorize every plan. You become indispensable while remaining invisible. You become crucial while appearing harmless. You become powerful while seeming weak. The blade you sharpen is not metal, it is information. The weapon you forge is not steel, it is trust. The trap you set is not physical, it is psychological. They walk into it willingly because you've made it comfortable, familiar, safe. When the moment comes to use what you've learned, they will never see it coming. Predators don't announce themselves with roars, they move silently through tall grass. They don't warn their prey, they strike from blindness. They don't threaten, they eliminate. Your smile remains gentle as you position the knife. Your voice stays soft as you choose the target. Your demeanor remains kind as you prepare the strike. The contradiction between your appearance and your actions creates a psychological shock. They cannot process quickly enough to defend against. They trusted you because you seemed harmless. They confided in you because you appeared safe. They depended on you because you looked reliable. The revelation that their safety was an illusion, their trust was manipulation, their dependence was entrapment, creates a paralysis that prevents effective response. By the time they realize what you are, the blade is already moving. By the time they understand what's happening, the strike is already complete. By the time they recognize the predator, the prey is already caught. Keep smiling as you sharpen the blade. Keep helping as you position the trap. Keep appearing harmless as you prepare to be deadly. The gentle predator is the most dangerous because it is the least expected. You cultivate their contempt deliberately. You let them think you're slow when you're processing. You appear uncertain when you're calculating. You seem confused when you're analyzing. Their arrogance becomes your advantage because arrogant people make careless mistakes. Watch how they speak to you, the condescending tone, the simplified explanations, the assumption, the complex ideas are beyond your grasp. Each moment of their superiority is a moment of your opportunity. Each instance of their contempt is an opening in their defenses. They stop watching you carefully because they've decided you're not worth watching. They stop considering you a threat because they've concluded you're incapable of threatening them. They stop guarding their words around you because they've determined you lack the intelligence to use those words against them. This is exactly where you want to be, close enough to strike, invisible enough to surprise. Their arrogance creates blindness. They become so convinced of your inferiority that they stop seeing you clearly. You become background noise in their consciousness, present but irrelevant, visible but ignoble, there but not threatening. You feed their arrogance with perfect timing. When they explain something obvious, you nod as if learning something new. When they speak down to you, you accept it with apparent gratitude. When they dismiss your input, you defer with seeming humility. Each act of submission deepens their conviction of your weakness. Each moment of deference strengthens their belief in your inferiority. Each display of confusion reinforces their assumption of your incompetence. But while they're basking in their superiority, you're studying their blindness. While they're enjoying their dominance, you're mapping their vulnerabilities. While they're celebrating their intelligence, you're learning their patterns. Arrogant people reveal more than wise people because they don't believe anyone around them is capable of using the information against them. They speak freely about their plans because they don't think you understand strategy. They discuss their fears because they don't believe you recognize weakness. They expose their methods because they don't imagine you could replicate or counter them. You become their confessor, not through trustworthiness, but through apparent harmlessness. They tell you everything because they believe you're capable of nothing. The invitation to underestimate is the most powerful invitation you can extend. When they look at you and see someone beneath their concern, someone below their notice, someone beyond their worry, they hand you every advantage. Let them feel superior. Let them believe they're smarter. Let them assume they're more capable. While they're enjoying their perceived dominance, you're preparing their actual defeat. Their blindness becomes your sight. Their carelessness becomes your opportunity. Their contempt becomes your weapon. When arrogant people finally realize they've been outmaneuvered by someone they considered inferior, the psychological shock is devastating. The revelation that their supposed intellectual superior was actually their intellectual prey creates a disorientation that prevents effective response. Keep appearing slow while moving fast. Keep seeming confused while seeing clearly. Keep looking weak while growing strong. Their arrogance is your invisibility cloak. Trust is not given, it is constructed, brick by brick, with patience and precision. You become their architect, building the bridge that connects their secrets to your silence, their vulnerability to your reliability, their need to your availability. But this bridge is not symmetrical. They walk across it freely, carrying their confidences, their fears, their strategies to your side. You never make the return journey. The bridge flows only one direction, from their transparency to your opacity, from their revelation to your concealment, from their trust to your knowledge. You become their confidant through careful cultivation. You prove your reliability with small secrets before they trust you with large ones. You demonstrate your discretion with minor confidences before they share major vulnerabilities. You show your loyalty with insignificant tests before they depend on you for significant support. Each act of trustworthiness is an investment in greater access. Each moment of reliability purchases deeper intimacy. Each display of loyalty buys more valuable information. They begin to need you in ways they don't fully understand. You become their safe harbor in emotional storms, their release valve for psychological pressure, their confessor for professional sins. They pour their problems into your hands because your hands seem safe. Your ear seems sympathetic. Your judgment seems absent. But while they pour, you collect. While they release, you retain. While they confess, you catalogued. Your silence becomes their comfort. But it is not empty silence. It is full silence, pregnant with information, heavy with knowledge, loaded with ammunition. They mistake your discretion for emptiness when it is actually fullness. They confuse your quietness for vacancy when it is actually capacity. You never reciprocate their transparency. When they share their fears, you listen without revealing your own. When they expose their weaknesses, you absorb without displaying yours. When they discuss their strategies, you understand without sharing yours. The asymmetry is crucial. Trust that flows both ways creates mutual vulnerability. Trust that flows one way creates unilateral advantage. They become naked while you remain clothed. They become visible while you stay hidden. They become vulnerable while you remain protected. This is not friendship, it is positioning. This is not intimacy, it is intelligence gathering. This is not relationship, is reconnaissance. The bridge you build is not for is for access, not for mutual understanding, is for unilateral knowledge. Not for shared vulnerability, is for concentrated advantage. When the moment comes to act on what you've learned, the bridge becomes the platform from which you strike. Their trust becomes the foundation of their destruction. Their openness becomes the source of their exposure. They built the bridge by trusting you. They maintained the bridge by confiding in you. They strengthened the bridge by depending on you. When you finally use the bridge for its intended purpose, to reach them with perfect accuracy, with complete surprise, with devastating effect, they realize they constructed their own downfall. The bridge they built to reach you becomes the path you use to destroy them. Keep building, keep listening, keep collecting. When they realize what you are, the bridge will already be complete, and you will already be crossing it. There comes a time when harmlessness must shed its skin and show its true nature. The moment arrives like lightning, brilliant, irreversible. 1 second you are invisible, the next you are inevitable. But this reveal is not emotional, it is surgical. You don't announce your power, you demonstrate it. You don't threaten, you act. You don't warn, you strike. The transition from harmless to deadly must be so swift, so complete, so perfectly timed that they have no opportunity to adapt. No chance to defend, no time to retaliate. The mask doesn't slip, it dissolves. The performance doesn't end, it transforms. The act doesn't conclude, it evolves into reality. You have spent months, perhaps years, appearing weak while growing strong, seeming vulnerable while becoming dangerous, looking harmless while preparing to be lethal. Every moment of their contempt has been preparation for this moment of their shock. Every instance of their dismissal has been positioning for this instant of their recognition. When you act with the accumulated force of all their underestimation. When you strike with the concentrated power of all their dismissal. When you reveal with the devastating impact of all their blindness. They see you differently now, not because you have changed, but because the mask has fallen. You were always this dangerous. You were always this capable. You were always this lethal. They simply couldn't see it through their own arrogance, their own assumptions, their own need to feel superior. The revelation is not just about your capabilities, it is about their blindness. Not just about your power, is about their weakness. Not just about your intelligence, it is about their stupidity. The psychological impact is devastating because it forces them to confront not just an external threat, but an internal failure. They were not defeated by a superior enemy, they were outmaneuvered by someone they considered inferior. They were not conquered by obvious strength, they were destroyed by hidden power. They were not overwhelmed by apparent danger, they were eliminated by disguised lethality. Your action must be precise, purposeful, and complete. Half measures destroy the psychological effect. Partial reveals diminish the shock. Incomplete demonstrations reduce the impact. When the mask falls, it must fall completely. When the true nature emerges, it must emerge fully. When the deadly replaces the harmless, it must replace it entirely. They will search their memories for signs they missed, clues they ignored, warnings they dismissed. They will replay every interaction, re-examine every conversation, reconsider every moment. The horror they feel is not just from your actions, it is from the recognition of their own blindness. You were never harmless. You were patient. You were never weak. You were waiting. You were never vulnerable. You were positioning. The moment the mask falls, they realize they were never the hunter. They were always the prey. Don't hesitate when the moment comes. Don't warn when you could surprise. Don't threaten when you could act. Let the mask fall completely. Let them see what you always were. Let them understand what they never recognized. The harmless was always an illusion. The deadly was always the reality. After you strike, they enter a phase of psychological reconstruction. They replay every interaction with new eyes, re-examine every conversation with fresh understanding, reconsider every moment with terrible clarity. The person they thought they knew never existed. The harmless individual they dismissed was always a carefully crafted fiction. They remember your gentleness and realize it was calculation. They recall your vulnerability and understand it was strategy. They think about your kindness and recognize it was manipulation. Every memory becomes evidence of their blindness. Every interaction becomes proof of their stupidity. The horror they experience is multifaceted. It is not just the shock of your action, it is the revelation of their misjudgment. Not just the surprise of your capability, is the recognition of their incompetence. Not just the impact of your strike, it is the understanding of their exposure. They begin to question everything. If they were wrong about you, what else are they wrong about? If they missed such obvious signs, what other signs are they missing? If they were so easily deceived by someone they considered inferior, how vulnerable are they to those they recognize as threats? Your revelation creates paranoia that extends far beyond your relationship with them. They begin to suspect everyone, question everything, doubt all appearances. The trust they placed in their ability to read people, to assess threats, to recognize danger, has been shattered. They no longer believe their own judgment. This is the secondary effect of the harmless to deadly transformation. It doesn't just destroy their confidence in their assessment of you, it destroys their confidence in their assessment of everyone. They will tell others about you, but who will believe them? The story sounds impossible. The weak person was actually strong. The harmless individual was actually dangerous. The vulnerable target was actually a lethal predator. Those who knew you as harmless will dismiss their warnings as paranoia, as rationalization, as inability to accept defeat. Your reputation for harmlessness becomes your protection even after the reveal. People will struggle to reconcile the person they knew with the person described to them. The cognitive dissonance is too great. It's easier to believe the victim is exaggerating than to accept that appearances can be so completely deceiving. But they know. They carry the knowledge of what you are capable of, what you are always capable of, what you will always be capable of. They know that harmless is a choice you make, not a limitation you suffer. They know that weak is a mask you wear, not a condition you endure. They realize that every moment of their contempt was a moment of your advantage. Every instance of their superiority was an opening in their defenses. Every act of their dismissal was an opportunity for your positioning. The most terrifying realization is not what you did, is what you could do. If you were capable of this level of deception, this degree of patience, this depth of strategy, what else might you be planning? What other masks might you be wearing? What other transformations might you be preparing? They will never look at you the same way again. They will never dismiss you again. They will never underestimate you again. But it's too late. The damage is done. The lesson is learned. The power has shifted. They now know what you always were. The question is, what will you become next? Power revealed too long becomes power diminished. Strength displayed too frequently becomes strength expected. Danger shown too clearly becomes danger anticipated. After you have acted, after you have shown what you are capable of, after you have demonstrated the deadly behind the harmless, you must return to the shadows. The revelation was not the end of the strategy, it was the completion of one cycle and the beginning of another. You cannot remain in the revealed state permanently. Constant visibility creates constant vigilance. Perpetual threat generates perpetual defense. Continuous danger produces continuous preparation. You must become invisible again, but it is a different invisibility now. Before, you were invisible because you were dismissed. Now, you are invisible because you choose to be. Before, you were overlooked because you seemed irrelevant. Now, you fade because you decide to fade. The return to shadows is not a retreat, it is a repositioning. Not a withdrawal, it is a reset. Not a defeat, it is a preparation for the next cycle. But they will never truly believe in your harmlessness again. The fear will remain, the uncertainty will linger, and your reputation will work for you even when you are silent. They know what lies beneath the mask, what hides behind the smile, what waits within the gentle exterior. This knowledge creates a psychological pressure that works in your favor. They will watch for signs that you are preparing to act again. They will analyze your behavior for clues about your intentions. They will study your words for hidden meanings. your actions for secret purposes, your silences for concealed threats. There, hypervigilance becomes your psychological weapon. They exhaust themselves watching for dangers that may or may not be coming. They wear down their defenses, maintaining constant alertness. They drain their resources, preparing for attacks that may or may not be planned. You, meanwhile, have returned to the shadows where you are most powerful. You watch them watch you. You study them studying you. You analyze their analysis of you. The observer becomes the observed. The hunter becomes the hunted. The pursuer becomes the pursued. Let others wonder if what they witnessed was real or imagined. Let them question whether your capabilities were genuine or circumstantial. Let them debate whether your transformation was permanent or temporary. Uncertainty is more powerful than certainty because it creates constant tension. Known danger can be prepared for, planned against, defended from. Unknown danger creates perpetual anxiety, continuous stress, exhausting vigilance. Your reputation now precedes you into every room, every conversation, every interaction. People have heard what you are capable of, what you have done, what you might do again. They approach you differently, speak to you differently, think about you differently, but you appear exactly as you did before. The same gentle demeanor, the same quiet presence, the same seemingly harmless exterior. The contradiction between what they know and what they see creates a cognitive dissonance that works in your favor. Are you the harmless person you appear to be, or the deadly individual you revealed yourself to be? Are you currently weak, or are you currently choosing to appear weak? Are you genuinely vulnerable, or are you strategically positioning? They can never be certain. An uncertainty about your nature is more valuable than certainty about your power. Become invisible again. Let them wonder, let them watch, let them worry. The shadows are where you belong. The shadows are where you are strongest. The shadows are where you prepare for what comes next. You now understand the supreme paradox of power. To be truly dangerous, you must appear harmless. To be truly strong, you must seem weak. To be truly feared, you must be underestimated. This is not deception, this is evolution. This is not manipulation, this is mastery. This is not pretense, this is precision. The world belongs to those who master this contradiction, who can wear the mask of innocence while wielding the blade of necessity, who can smile with genuine warmth while calculating with cold precision, who can appear vulnerable while being absolutely lethal. Most people live in the obvious realm. They show what they are. They reveal what they think. They display what they feel. They announce their intentions, broadcast their capabilities, advertise their weaknesses. They are open books in a world that belongs to those who remain mysteries. You have learned to live in the paradox, to be one thing while appearing to be another, to possess power while projecting weakness, to harbor danger while radiating safety. This is not about becoming someone else. This is about becoming more completely yourself while choosing what aspects of yourself the world gets to see. The mask of harmlessness is not a disguise, it is a choice. The appearance of weakness is not a flaw, it is a strategy. The projection of vulnerability is not a limitation, it is a weapon. You can be gentle and lethal. You can be kind and calculating. You can be helpful and dangerous. You can be trustworthy and mysterious. The contradictions that confuse others become the complexities that empower you. This is not about becoming. This honesty is about becoming complete. Not about becoming fake, is about becoming strategic. Not about becoming is about becoming sophisticated. The world will try to convince you that power must be obvious, that strength must be displayed, that danger must be announced. They want you obvious because obvious people are easy to understand, easy to categorize, easy to defend against, easy to defeat. Remain mysterious, stay unpredictable, keep them guessing, look harmless, be deadly. The choice and the consequences are yours alone. The transformation is complete. You are no longer the person who walked into that first room and was dismissed as weak. You are no longer the individual who was overlooked as harmless. You are no longer the presence that was ignored as irrelevant. You are something else now. Something more dangerous because you appear less threatening. Something more powerful because you seem less capable. Something more lethal because you look less harmful. The paradox is your power. The contradiction is your strength. The mystery is your weapon. If this resonates with something deep in your core, if you recognize the power in appearing powerless, if you understand that true strength lies in strategic weakness, then you're ready for what comes next. Subscribe, not for motivation, but for transformation. Not for inspiration, but for instruction. Not for entertainment, but for evolution. The harmless are forgotten. The deadly are remembered. The harmless who are deadly are legend. Choose your mask. Sharpen your blade. Master the paradox. The world is waiting.